In the summer of 1814, the U.S. Army is once more on the attack. Their prior attempts to overrun the British territory of Canada have met with ruinous disaster. Now, after 25 years of war, the British are finally victorious over the French in Europe and are preparing their forces to end this second war of independence. This is the last chance for the United States to inflict a serious blow before the full might of Britain falls on the Republic. The U.S. Army crosses the frontier and begins marching up the Niagara Peninsula. A British garrison at Fort Erie is captured, while a counterattack at Chippewa is thrown back. But the Americans are stopped cold at Fort George. A lack of heavy artillery and a failure to obtain naval supremacy means their army can do little but sit in front of its walls. The element of surprise is squandered. American numerical superiority is gone. Undaunted, the Americans move south to regroup and attack other targets. The British pursue. As soon as American commander Jacob Brown learns of this, he doubles back to engage the enemy. The two armies collide at Lundy's Lane. Late in the afternoon of the 25th of July, General Winfield Scott shakes out his brigade into line and launches an attack. British troops hold the high ground, with several other detachments close to the north and the west. They have superiority in both artillery and manpower. But for the first time in the war, it is the Americans who hold the superiority in quality. Surprised Canadian militias scramble into formation on the heights, as the Americans close to firing range. But under a torrential barrage of cannon fire, casualties are steadily mounting. On the right, a regiment of U.S. troops emerge from the woods and hits the exposed flank of the British. Their line is broken. Hundreds are taken prisoner. Only the timely arrival of reinforcements blunts the tide. Reserves are now piling in from both sides. But the American advance has left the British position on the hill dangerously exposed. The 21st U.S. Regiment charges onto the heights, driving back the British and taking their guns. As night falls, the battle only intensifies. British infantry continue to arrive. Commander Drummond, eager to reclaim the heights, launches attack after attack. American forces cling on desperately, as fighting becomes confused in the dark. Commanding control in both armies collapses. Both Winfield Scott and Jacob Brown are seriously wounded. British General Riall has been captured. Drummond is hit in the neck. The battle grinds on. There is friendly fire, close quarters combat, charges and countercharges. By the early morning, both sides are utterly spent. Exhausted, and knowing they are still outnumbered, the Americans withdraw. The British cannot pursue. It is the bloodiest battle of the war. Around 800 casualties on both sides. The Americans and the British both claim victory. Strategically, however, the Americans are defeated. There is no way their shattered force can launch a new offensive. Brown pulls back to the frontier. The last attempt to conquer Canada has failed. The British, on the other hand, are gearing up to strike a fatal blow against the young Republic, and to avenge the destruction of Canadian lands. They will target the heart of America. Washington will burn. August 1814. The United States is being invaded from all directions by the British Empire. Their war to liberate Canada has spiraled out of control. Defeat after defeat. Victorious in the Napoleonic Wars, Britain has now turned its full might on America. Their wrath will fall on Washington. The British fleet, 50 warships carrying 4,000 battle-hardened veterans, arrives in the Chesapeake Bay. Their main target is Baltimore, a rich commercial center and base of operations for the Americans. Just south of the city is the new capital, Washington. The White House, Capitol, and many other key buildings have been under construction here for more than 20 years. Since 1800, both the President and Congress have resided in Washington, as they do even now, with British troops approaching. On August 19th, British forces land at Benedict, just 30 miles south of Washington. They march north with 4,000 men. American forces are far larger, but split between defending Washington and Baltimore. Worse, apart from a few hundred regulars, they are all militia of poor quality and discipline. On August 24th, behind a river at Bladensburg, 7,000 of these men gather to stop the British advance. It is a disaster. Supported by a flank column and Congreve rockets, 1,500 British regulars charge across the bridge. American order, courage, and discipline melt away as the second line is overrun, easier than the first. A desperate countercharge by American Marines briefly halts the British advance. But it is not enough. The U.S. Army is totally scattered. The British suffer just 250 casualties, and now nothing stands in their way. Washington is in utter chaos. Civilians, militia, and congressmen alike take what they can and flee west. Wagons clog the streets. President James Madison makes for Brookville, accompanied by the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and many other documents, not least among them, the positions of all American military units, and George Washington's personal correspondence. Among the few who keep their cool that day is Dolly Madison, the president's wife. She stays until the last possible moment, overseeing the removal of a full-length portrait of George Washington, which hangs in the Capitol to this day. Later that night, British troops enter the city. The Union Jack is raised on Capitol Hill. At this time, the Capitol Rotunda is not built yet, but the House and Senate chambers are. British troops use artwork on the walls to light bonfires and burn them to the ground. The Treasury building is also set ablaze. So too the Library of Congress, containing thousands of precious books and documents. As the British troops march through the streets of Washington, they reassure civilians that their private property will not be harmed. The White House isn't so lucky. British troops enter the president's home to find a state dinner untouched. They toast, "To peace with America and down with Madison." Then, After ransacking the building, the White House is burned. Later that evening, a tremendous storm rolls over the Capitol, extinguishing the flames. By morning, Washington is a ghost town. It has little strategic value, so the British abandon it and make for Baltimore. But their situation is more precarious than it seems. They are still outnumbered, and the Americans have recovered from their initial shock. The British land outside the city and sweep aside an American force at North Point. But probing attacks reveal Baltimore is too well defended for a direct assault. The British are running out of time. Their troops are needed elsewhere. So they decide on one final attack on Fort McHenry, which commands the entrance to the harbor. If it can be taken, the city will fall. On September 13th, 19 Royal Navy ships open a bombardment. More than 1,500 rockets, bombs, and shells rain down on the fort throughout the night. By dawn, it is clear that the defenses have held. The fort will not fall. The following day, the British force pulls back, disappearing into the ocean, en route to another target. Christmas Eve, 1814. In the Belgian city of Ghent, British and American diplomats conclude a peace treaty, set to end the War of 1812. After nearly 3 years, the struggle has ground into stalemate. The US invasion of Canada has been thwarted time and again. The British have failed to make any lasting gains in the Chesapeake. The treaty is set to re-establish the status quo. But the war is not over yet. Even as the ink is drying, 60 warships and 8,000 veteran infantry are at sea. Destination: New Orleans. This commercial hub sits at the mouth of the Mississippi River. It is key to controlling the vast Louisiana territory, and by extension, the whole West. It is currently under the control of the United States after Napoleon's sale of the land in 1803. But the British do not recognize the American claim. If New Orleans falls, the US fears that Britain might well win the whole of Louisiana, with or without any peace treaty. Leading this expedition is Edward Pakenham, a talented general who served under Wellington in the Peninsular War. On the 23rd of December, he and his men arrive at the Villeray plantation, less than 10 miles from New Orleans. Waiting for him just south of the city is General Andrew Jackson. A hardened Indian fighter, he is used to command in the rugged frontier. His fiery temper gives him the bravado needed to keep otherwise undisciplined men in line. Over the past weeks, he has been working tirelessly to prepare his forces to face the British. He has fewer than 700 regulars at hand. To augment their number, he gathers volunteers from across the frontier. Militias from Tennessee, Kentucky, Louisiana, and Mississippi all rally to the defense of New Orleans. Jackson even pardons a pirate crew, commanded by a certain Captain Lafitte, who offers up ammunition and skilled gunners. Even with these measures, his ragtag force numbers just 5,700 men. Nevertheless, Jackson is determined that New Orleans cannot fall. The same day the British arrive, Jackson launches a surprise raid on their camp. Both sides suffer hundreds of casualties. Tactically, nothing is achieved. Strategically, it gives Pakenham pause. Here on out, the British will advance only cautiously. This is just what Jackson needs. His force is still in the process of converging on New Orleans. The slower British advance also buys time for him to fortify his position. When the British finally arrive at the Rodriguez Canal, Jackson is ready for them. Determined to dislodge the Americans, an intense artillery duel erupts on New Year's Day. With fortifications on their side, American gunners devastate the British batteries. Pakenham decides to delay any attack until all 8,000 men can be mustered for an overwhelming assault. It takes 7 more days, but by the 8th of January, all is ready. In the early hours, the British Army forms up under cover of thick fog. The plan is for the bulk of the army, 6,500 men, to attack Jackson's position head-on. Meanwhile, another 1,500 will cross to the far bank of the Mississippi, capture the American guns, and use them to support the main attack. Things go wrong immediately. Transport across the Mississippi is badly bungled. Barely 500 men are across by dawn. As the main line is forming up, ladders to scale the American positions are left behind. Frustrated, Pakenham orders the attack to begin anyways, hoping the fog will make up for other failures. 3 attack columns advance. The men are packed together, shoulder to shoulder. They make steady headway, but suddenly, on the open plain just in front of the American line, the fog lifts. It is a perfect killing field. The American line opens a murderous fire, eviscerating the British front ranks. The disciplined British regulars push onward until reaching the Rodriguez Canal. It proves an insurmountable obstacle. Any man who dares to cross is killed. The advance halts. With each passing second, the British are being torn apart. Several officers are struck down. Pakenham himself is mortally wounded. The advance has turned into a mad dash to escape. Meanwhile, the British force on the far bank of the Mississippi has finally formed up and stormed the American entrenchments. They are too late. Isolated, outnumbered, they have no choice but to join the rest of the army in retreat. Jackson, wary of the quality of his men, does not pursue. The battle is a one-sided slaughter. In half an hour, the British army has been totally shattered. Casualties are more than 2,000 men. The American losses? Less than 100. The British expedition has proven an utter disaster, as survivors limp back to their ships, and the Treaty of Ghent goes into effect. American westward expansion is also secure. What's more, the devastating nature of the victory has helped fuel a special sense of national will in the US. Later termed Manifest Destiny. The God-given right to expand feels ever more real to the American people. They are now determined to see themselves crowned the rulers of all North America. Their next target? Texas.